Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out a game called Error 562 by developer Eloan Harman. This is another game from the LD31 Game Jam, again with the theme entire game on one screen. What we're dealing with today is a bit of a space shooter and one that I have a feeling you guys are going to enjoy. Unfortunately, it's extremely short, but what's here is actually very, very cool. It's a game designed in Unreal Engine 4 and you can tell it's got a lot of really beautiful details in it. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the game and I'll show you what I'm talking about here.
Welcome. It opens the door, destroys the enemy.
So in case you didn't quite hear that, it said to open the door, destroy the enemy. We're slowly approaching the space station. As we get a little bit closer here, we're going to notice all of these turrets starting to fire on us. Now this seems very, very rudimentary and simple off the bat, right? There's not a whole lot going on here, but what makes this game very cool is it's actually got a little bit of dimensionality in the flight that you can do in it. So as soon as I get a little bit of speed here by holding down W, I get some distance too, and see there's actually a couple more turrets up on top. I'm going to try and take these guys out before we head in. We actually only really needed to kill the one in front of the door to open up passage forward, but let's do a little bit of flippy spinny type things, and sorry, hopefully I probably should have mentioned before I did that, this definitely feels like the type of game that's prone to give people some motion sickness, so yeah, if you have any trouble with that, my apologies there, that might have just been a little bit much. But yeah, the cool thing about this game is the movement is actually very granular. You have control over the ship in that you can speed up, slow down, turn around, do a flip. Like, all of that stuff feels quite nice. The only thing is it does seem to need a lot of space for that to happen. You can actually see inside of the space station here, which is kind of sweet. I didn't realize this window actually worked to see through. But yeah, it's a really nice feeling. It kind of reminds me a lot of Star Fox, and I think there's a lot of people out there that would love to see a game like Star Fox that exists. There probably is one somewhere, but I just haven't seen a very large pervasion of this type of game existing in the indie space. I would love to know, by the way, if anybody out there does know of one. Feel free to let me know in the comments. But this really, really looks very lovely. I mean, the whole bunch of effects that you can add in from Unreal Engine 4 really does make this stand out quite a bit. I don't know if it's too distracting, but like the smear effects on the glass pane that's supposed to be your viewpoint, I don't know, that's a thing that I guess you could go either way on. I'd kind of like the option to turn that off because it really can be a lot in front of your eyes, but like with all of the various effects coming off of the lights and sources and things that are reflecting and things that are bouncing everywhere, like all of that looks lovely, and in a way having those little smear effects on the screen does help sort of accentuate that. And right here is, I think, where the game could be at its strongest. You can speed up and then use the E and Q keys to kind of manipulate your ship around in 3D space to cut a hole through all of this area here and hopefully make it through to the bottom unscathed. It's quite daunting, in fact, looking at all of these pillars in front of you and hoping you can make your path through it successfully. The ship does seem agile enough that you can pull it off. Then when you get to the bottom, you need to kind of spin around in a circle there to be able to not just crash into things. And unfortunately, when we get right through this passage down at the bottom here, through all of these blinding, beautiful lights, we find ourselves already towards the end of the experience. I would have loved to see like 3 or 4 more passageways, at least, like the one we just saw there. And this is where the developer tries to kind of tie it back into the theme, entire game on one screen, because like obviously it's the whole game isn't really on one screen. We're actually flying through a bunch of screens here. But, you know, kind of paid some service to that idea anyway. And there isn't really an ending as far as I can tell. You just kind of like stop being able to go forward from here. Maybe if I fly through this little thing right here, maybe this little, no, just hoping. But really, I just wanted to kind of showcase this because I'd more like than anything to know if there are more games out there that exist in this same sort of space for, you know, flight shooters that have an action bend to them, and especially if they look this beautiful, because honestly, if this was a full-fledged game, I could easily say paying 20 bucks or more for something like this that had just like a whole bunch of levels and a full-fledged campaign to it. So I would love to say, you know, I encourage this developer, please go forward if you have any ambitions to continue developing on this. I feel like you have a really solid start. I like the feel of this game, I love the look of this game, and I just want to play more of it. So, you know, I guess that's the biggest compliment I think I could give generally, is like, what you're doing is great, keep it up. And I would love to go check out some of this developer's other work. If this is, you know, what you can make in 48 hours, I would love to see what you can make in 48 weeks, or other arbitrary time increments like that. So unfortunately, there isn't really much else to see here. I mean, I could go back into that passageway and try and shoot at more of those turrets, but that is really like the only enemy and only impediment, aside from that tactical hazard of, you know, flying through all these passageways. So Wow, it's actually quite cool looking as the lasers cross back and forth. They even have little bits of dynamic light that'll show up too, which is great to see off of the pillars and things. I don't know if any of them are shooting quite close enough, but it's a very cinematic, very cool effect that's happening there. Yeah, alright, so that's what happens when you run into a wall. Essentially, you'll just smash. But it doesn't actually blow you up most of the time, which I guess is a blessing in a way, because otherwise it could get rather frustrating. Oh yeah, that's how... Oh, there we go. You know what would have worked fine, actually, is if when you go to that last passageway, if it actually causes you to, like, pick something up and then a timer goes off and it's like you got to escape the space station before it explodes. I don't know, it's maybe a little cliche to say, but I think that kind of would have worked to make this into a little bit more of an experience. You know, then we'd have, like, double the content in a way, because then something could happen as you leave. Maybe there'd be smoke and more things exploding and coming out into your frame of vision. I don't know, it might work, it might not. But in general... really cool idea. I'd love to see more by this developer. Error 562 is free if you'd like to go download it. There's a 32 and a 64-bit Windows version. If you have the computer to run it, this is a nice way to benchmark, again, whether or not your computer can handle some of the effects in Unreal Engine 4. I thought it looked lovely. Hopefully you get similar experiences on your setup, whatever it might be. And feel free to weigh in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think about this in general, or if you have any other suggestions about games in a similar genre that I might need to see. Please feel free to chime in. Also, if you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like. I know it was a super short one today, but just kind of needed to show this one off. It felt like a thing that needed to be done. So hopefully you enjoyed it regardless, and thank you everybody for watching. I will talk to you all tomorrow for another episode, and I hope you have a fantastic night. Later!